What if Static Shock was in Multiversus as a playable character? That is the question that I will attempt to answer in today's video. So a proper way to tackle this subject is by going over a few possible attacks. And yes, just a few, because this is only a mini concept, if you will. So we will also go over some different alternate costume ideas, as well as his power that he will have in the game, as well as a unique perk that fits very well with that power. So let's begin. Starting things off with attack number 1, starting simple yet effective, his neutral attack. So Static is a superhero that can get physical, and also he's got superpowers, right? So let's combine those two into something simple yet effective, an electric punch. An E-punch, if you will. No, electric punch, it sounds better. But Static will deliver a powerful punch filled with electric energy. Now we could take this a tiny step further if we really want to, and we could make this a left-right 1-2 combo. Just, quick 2 punches real quick. Does pretty decent damage, a pretty safe option when you're close to the opponent. The move would come out somewhat fast, so you'd be able to get in, a couple punches in there, get a nice little, rack up a little bit of damage. So, just a neutral attack, his electric punch. Attack number 2, his neutral side air and ground attack. So this will be the same attack as it is on the ground as it is in the air. And I'm calling this one the E-glide. So this is vintage Static Shock here. So he jumps on a manhole cover and ends up gliding around. Well, not really around, but he will glide across, like straight across. And then if there's an enemy at the end of this glide animation, he kind of slams into him and delivers a little, maybe a little shot with his fist, or maybe with the manhole cover itself. He just kind of like slams into the opponent a little bit, causing pretty decent damage. So the good thing about this attack, this gives Static multiple uses with one attack, right? Obviously, for number 1, it's an attack that's going to deal damage, and it's going to cover, a pretty good distance that, your opponent's a little bit farther away. Well, then you can kind of speed off after him, kind of catch up to him a little bit, right? And then 2, this gives him horizontal recovery as well. So it's a great tool for Static, or heck, it's a great tool for any character's kit. Attack number 3, we're going to go with his side special, just grounded side special though. So for his grounded side special attack, Static will unleash this lightning that travels across the ground while traveling at a pretty good speed across the ground as well. So this allows Static to kind of hit opponents that are, again, somewhat at a distance. This is like his somewhat of a projectile for him, so it's gonna have some pretty good range to it. So if you want to start off the match throwing this thing out there real quick, lightning's coming straight at the opponent. It's going to cause them to react, and if they're going to try to jump up and try to avoid it, well, jump up and meet them with another attack. So it kind of puts Static on the offensive while putting the opponent in a defensive position. Plus, there's many other uses for it, but a nice projectile for him to kind of play around with. But yes, his side special grounded attack. And for the last attack that we're going to cover in this mini concept, here is Static's neutral grounded up attack. I'm calling this like arc lightning, if you will. So the way that I envision this move working, Static will end up reaching up with his hands, but they will be, separated, kind of like shoulder width apart. And this is where the arc lightning is kind of running from one hand to the other, going back and forth between one another in like this continuous energy stream, right? So this move would be a really good anti-air, in my opinion. We could even take it one step further for the attack if you want to, and we could apply a stun-like effect to any opponent that gets hit by this. So the opponent's coming down, you're able to catch them with this attack. It stuns them. Maybe it doesn't do a whole lot of damage, but the stun is what's going to be the most important part of this. Is grounded up, again, calling this like arc lightning, kind of traveling back and forth between his hands. So could be a pretty fun one. Now let's talk about the power or perk idea, the unique perk for Static Shock that I came up with. And this one I think is a really fun idea for that. So I'm calling this the human fuse box. And that is a reference to exactly what he called himself in the show. So this is how I envision it working. Here is Static Shock. cool. He looks awesome, right? Yes. Now here is Static Shock with the unique perk equipped and what I envision this looking like. So as you can see, Static has this electric aura around him that will follow him at all times. No matter where Static moves, of course, you know, he's going to have this aura that's around him at all times. So when he's surrounded by this, if any opponent enters this aura, they will take a small bit of damage. Like, I'm talking very, very small. There's no knockback to this. It's just kind of like a damage over time sort of deal. I'd say this is a very small amount of damage to kind of keep the perk and the power balanced. So maybe something like 0.2% damage every time that for every second that the opponent is in this aura, they're taking 0.2% damage over time, right? And I think it could even have somewhat of a linger effect. So if the opponent walks into the aura and then gets knocked out, they will have a lingering effect for 1 additional second. So you'll at least get 0.2% damage if you can get the opponent in this aura. So this way, if you're a Static player, you'll get rewarded for keeping the fight close to you and, you know, kind of bringing the damage. Plus you get the added bonus of this, well, bonus damage that you're inflicting over time. And I think this could be a really fun idea for a perk, just something that's always constantly causing a tiny bit of extra damage, and it could really rack up over the course of the game and really change things and kind of maybe even change how your opponent tries to approach you. Who knows? Now, every character deserves to look fresh or get a refresh from time to time, right? That's what the in-game shop is going to be for alternate costume ideas, and we got 3 of them to go over. So up first, we're calling this his redesign look. Now this one I think looks a little bit more modern for, you know, modern times, right? So this does have a much different look to his blue jacket attire, which I imagine that being more of his default. But this one, as you can see, the redesign outfit is just more black and yellow, and there's a little bit of grayish color in there as well. So again, it's a little bit more distinctive from his other attack, or not his attack, but his other attire. So I think it fits, and you know, looking a little bit more distinct is never a bad thing, right? Now for alternate costume number 2, we're gonna call this one Old Static, or Elder Static Shock, if you will. Now, I dare say, you know, a funny costume this one would be, right? People, you gotta have your funny costumes in there from time to time, right? Maybe this one's funny to you, just playing as somebody that's a lot older or looks a lot older. I don't know, it could work. But again, you gotta respect your elders, kids. And I intend to do so if I was playing Static and I got this Old Static Shock, if I got this costume on, or alternate costume, and just imagine the old man throwing hands. And he's out there taking down opponents left and right. And he's beating his opponents that are half of his age. You're gonna learn respect real quick. And the last alternate costume that I think would fit, or be very fitting in this case, Civilian Virgil. Just normal everyday Virgil. Just himself, right? It makes a ton of sense. So it's just, you know, nothing to see here. Just a normal looking dude that, you know, one look at him out on the battlefield and you're probably going to underestimate him. You're like, this dude's not going to do nothing to me. But when Virgil comes out victorious in the end of the day, you know that you should not have taken him lightly.